So today in this episode, I wanted to just take you through a couple of steps that I talk about with my students as well to establish their design identities, because you've got clues all around you all of the time. It's not as difficult as you might think to establish what your design identity is and figure out what your design voice is.
I'm Ryde. I'm a designer, an entrepreneur, and online educator obsessed with all things design, quilting, and creative business. It's time to embark on a creative odyssey.
Hey there, I'm trying something new here today with this podcast episode on the go. I am downtown Verona today, and I'm just checking in with you because today's episode is all about thinking about what your design identity is. And I know that this is a big question, especially when you're starting out as a designer and you look around and you see all of these people who seem to have this really established design identity. You know, what's my design style? What's my design voice? This is a big question when we're starting out as designers. Something that I've been thinking a lot about lately, I'm on the go at the moment, I'm traveling. And so when I've been packing, I'm really thinking about, okay, what it is that I'm taking away with me and looking at the things that I wear, the style that I dress myself with, and the clothes and the patterns that I have inside my capsule wardrobe, I guess if you want to call it. It's probably a big word. They are really clues to what my design identity is. So today in this episode, I wanted to just take you through a couple of steps that I talk about with my students as well to establish their design identities, because you've got clues all around you all of the time. It's not as difficult as you might think to establish what your design identity is and figure out what your design voice is. So I wanted to point to a couple of clues today, a little bit about that. And those include, number one, having a look at what you've filled your home with. What are the things that you've collected on your travels and on your journey? What are those things that you can look around you and see that you've collected on your journey? These are hints to what your design style really is. What has attracted you? What are you drawn to? You know, do you have a whole house full of floral items? Do you have a whole house full of geometric items? Do you have a particular color palette that you like to use or that you see and you repeatedly repeat in the homewares and the furnishings, and the interesting bits and pieces that you've collected on your travels and your journeys? This is something that is a great clue to have a look at. So that's kind of one aspect that you can have a look at. The second aspect, I just alluded it to as well. Like I said, I'm traveling right now. And so when I was putting together the clothes and the things that I wanted to take away with me, it becomes very obvious to me what my style is. I wear a lot of black. I wear a lot of black and white together. And this is almost reflected in my design style as well, the things that I use and the colors that I use in my design aesthetic as well. So this is something that you can definitely look to, what you're wearing, what things you've got going on in your house and your homewares. Those are two things as well. Look in your wardrobe, open it up and have a look what's in there. What are the things that you've collected to adorn yourself with, that you wear regularly, that you like to keep close to you? Those are really good clues to your design identity as well. And then a third element that I'd love you to take a look at, this is like sort of step number 3 here, is go to your phone scrolling feed of your photos. Go to your photo feed and scroll back and see what it is that has caught your eye. What did you stop and take a picture of? What are those things that you've started to collect? And here's a little bonus tip for you here as well. While you're there, start to collate these into albums. This is a great way to store your design inspiration so that you can come back to it at a future time and tap into it for a potential quilt pattern design, for a surface design, for whatever it is that you're working on right now. This is a great way to organize those inspiration elements that you've picked up along the way as well. So that's kind of my short and sweet tips here for trying to tap into what your design identity is. And I guess the next step after having looked at what it is that you surround yourself with, so that's kind of step number 1, is having a look at what you've surrounded yourself with in your home. What are you collecting? What are the things that attract your attention and that you like to keep close to you? What are the elements in your wardrobe, like your clothes, the things that you adorn yourself with? What is it about those that has attracted you, and how do you represent your design style aesthetically on your person? And then the third element is to go into your photo feed on your phone, scroll through those photos, and then start to really look at what those elements are, those common threads that you've started to collect in there as well. And the bonus tip is to collate those into albums so that you have an easy way to come back to that reference when you want to have a look at it for your future quilt pattern or surface patterns there. Then really taking all of this evidence, if you like, this is about collecting the evidence. That's the first phase, is collecting this evidence by looking at those things that we have around us. Now we want to translate that evidence into something usable. Like what can we take away from this? So having a look at those things that you've collected around you that inspire you, how you adorn yourself, how you represent yourself visually to the world on your person, the things that you put on your person to do this, and then looking at what you've captured in terms of the inspiration that you've got, start to just note down a few of the things that are common here. What are the common themes? What's the kind of red thread, if you like, that runs through all of these things? And how do you think you can leverage that in your designing? Take a little moment to realize that you've already started to establish your own design identity. This is not something that you have to invent. This is something that comes from you and your own personal experiences. And this is what allows you to create those unique designs that only you can create. This is a culmination of your own unique experiences, your own aesthetic, your own interests, your own passions. This is something that you are already building. You're already building your design voice. You're already building your design identity. It's a matter of tapping in and looking at that evidence, reviewing it if you like, having a look at what that evidence is that you've got in front of you, and then starting to translate that into the designs that you want to create. Using that as almost like your reference point for, oh yeah, well actually I really do have these kind of design identity elements already in place. How can I enhance those? How can I develop those? How can I move those forward from beyond maybe just using black and white, for example, and you want to add something in. So in my own case, my branding, my brand identity, it's black and white and that acid lime color, that acid yellow color that I use. And that really developed from, I guess it was originally a long time ago. I used to work in an architect's office, and one of the principal architects there, he had this kind of thing for yellow stationery items. He would only ever use yellow Post-it notes. He would only ever use yellow highlighters. He would only ever use the yellow trace paper that you can get in, like architecture trace paper. And so this kind of specific and very conscious and very deliberate choice that made me start to think about what my own kind of conscious, deliberate design choices were as well. I think probably that seed had been planted then with the yellow, so maybe it comes from there. But since then, I have definitely loved to use Kona Acid Lime. That's like my signature color in a lot of my quilts. You'll see a little pop of that color coming in. And that's really kind of developed as well as I've started to use it in my branding as well. So think about what those things are. What kind of little nuance have you got in your life? What little quirk is it that you might want to add in as either a brand design identity or your own design identity in terms of the way that you design and create quilt patterns that have a signature design style, if you like? I guess really, why are we doing all of this? Well, as you develop as a designer, you'll start to notice that other designers are instantly recognizable, right? You can look on a scroll of Instagram or Pinterest or wherever, and you can kind of pinpoint who is designing that quilt or who is designing those surface designs, who's designing that fabric. They have a certain style about them. Start to think about that. Like where does that style come from them then? What are those common themes that they keep repeating in their work? Is it a color theme? Is it a shape theme? Is it a subject matter theme? What are those things that they are bringing to their own design identities? And think about how you can use that evidence that we talked about at the very beginning of this episode, your own personal collection of items around your home, your own personal collection of clothing or adornment, and then your own personal collection of photos and inspiration that you've gathered. Like, how can you look at that and then think about, okay, well, my common theme is X. I'm going to take that and move that into being a signature that I'm going to include or develop or start to develop around my own designs in my quilt patterns or in my surface designs. So this is just kind of a short episode here. I wanted to just give you a bit of an insight into that design identity, that design voice and the development of that, and how you are already on your path to becoming a designer with your own design voice. Look to the evidence that you already have around you. That's step one. And then step two is really to translate that into how you're going to express that. Is it color? Is it through theme? Is it through pattern? Is it through, like a very limited choice of materials or textures that you decide to use? These are all things that you can really gather from that evidence and translate over to your very own signature design style and continue to develop that as well. Like, this is the starting point. Design style and a design identity is always in flux. It's always evolving. And this is the beauty of it as well, right? It doesn't mean you have to come to a final answer and then that's it for now and forevermore. This is something that is fun, it's playful, it's something that you can continue to play with and evolve and develop over time as well, which makes it super, super engaging. All right, I hope this has been useful here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below here. And in next week's episode, I'm going to be diving into some very interesting conversations around branding and design identity as it pertains to branding. What else goes into your brand? We're going to be talking to a guest expert here on the podcast on A Creative Odyssey. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts or here on the YouTube channel to make sure that you catch that branding expert next week on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.